Okay, here we are. Hello.
Hello.
My half my head's cut off. That's why you always sit on the other side because you're under this banner.
Let's
You
change.
see. So.
Let's change.
Are you happy with that? Oh, look at that. See, I've got a whole head.
You have got a whole head.
Can I have my notes and I'll just grab my Bible here. Hello. Excuse us while we get sorted and settled here. I've got some of Christy's cake, by the way. This is the chai
latte tea cake.
Chai latte tea cake. I mean, I've eaten almost all of it, and I'll probably eat the rest while Christy talks. So anyway, lovely to see you all, and it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
After about 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, you had a couple of other people.
Just one. I had me.
Yes.
And then last week I had Shane Millard.
Fantastic.
So, and he was awesome. He's always good, isn't he? So, yeah, it is yummy cake, Grant. Good evening to you. Hi, Ross. Hi, Kelly. So pop a little note in your chat feed, whatever you're watching this on. We're on Bayside Church, Facebook and YouTube. So if you know people who are not on Facebook but they'd like to engage with us, do tell them that we are on the Bayside Church YouTube channel as well as my 2 Facebook pages. And I posted a photo of myself today on my Facebook page. I don't know if you've had a look.
I haven't.
No, because you've had a busy day.
Had a very busy day.
Well, we both have, but you have not stopped. And so that is, the photo is from 1999, and I was doing an interview on TBN, the Trinity Broadcasting Network in upstate New York. So we were over there and I found it. I was looking through my photos yesterday because we're showing a montage of people and their dads on Bayside Church Online for Father's Day. And I had to find a photo of me and my dad. So I found one, but I also found that photo.
Where did I find it?
On my Facebook page.
Oh,
so you're on yours.
Page. Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Amy. Yeah, I had hair. Yeah, thanks for noticing. It's all gone. But yeah, that was 1999. So Gigi was 1. Hi, Jane. Lovely to be with you too. Then? No, Mo. Just
no, Mo.
Just no. So Matt Murphy says it was a great shot. Thank you. Yeah, I scrubbed up okay with the hair, and then the hair left, and there you go. I had a parting with my hair.
Hair parting.
Tish boom.
Yes.
There you go. So last millennium. Yeah, it was indeed. So if you got any questions, please do pop them into the chat feed. I've got a few questions here, and we've got something that we want to chat with you guys about as well. Lovely to see the numbers going down. So today was the lowest since the 3rd of July.
Yeah,
it was only 70
great.
Today.
Everybody's doing a fabulous job.
Yeah.
It's not been easy. And, you know, I think if we keep going this way, obviously it's going to be good, but we're still going to have to look at doing things differently moving forward in the meantime anyway.
Yeah.
Until we've got a vaccine.
Yeah, very much so. But it will be nice to have things eased up a little bit. So we're here on Sunday. What the next step will be for Melbourne, and of course different requirements or restrictions rather for regional Victoria. But we're doing well, you know, and the thing is that I've been saying this for months now. The building's closed, but the church is open.
Yeah.
There were no church buildings until the 3rd century, the late 3rd century. So for nearly 300 years, the church did incredibly well without church buildings. And now I love our church building, and I think having a base to work from and gather in and all of that is wonderful. But the building is not the church. The people are the church. And so the church is open. And we had Step to Church on Saturday, just gone, and we had 68 people do Step to Church with us. We started at 9, we finished at 1. We started with 68, we finished with 68. And I just think that that's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it's incredible to be doing that. And we've had so many other things happening, like Alpha and Freedom in Christ.
Freedom, Step to Freedom.
So, you know, to have that number of people doing things just shows that their hearts are, you know, towards serving God and, you know, working through the local church.
Very much so, yeah. People are getting saved every week, growing in their relationship with the Lord. So, you know, like I say, building closed, church open. Hi, Amanda and Nika, I think that is, and Carrie. Lovely to have you join us as well. We're gonna touch on a few things here. I'll get into the first question. As I mentioned before, if you've got a question, just pop it into the chat feed, and we'll answer it as spontaneously as we possibly can. If we need to do a little bit of study, we can add to it next week. But we love just bouncing off your questions and comments. And through the week, as you're reading scripture and as you're listening to things or reading something, whatever, and a question pops into your mind, type it into your notes on your phone or write it in your journal, and then you can bring it up with us on the Tuesday night, which would be lovely. Good day, Tom and Chris. Amanda says it's the first time being with us live. That's great. So I take it, Amanda, you normally would watch or listen through the week. A lot of people do that, by the way.
Yeah.
Probably, the same number again. Listen through the week. So I've got a question here. Are my grandparents in hell if they did not say the sinner's prayer? What would you say to that?
I would say,
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, well, I would just say the sinner's prayer has got very little to do with whether somebody's saved or not. There's no sinner's prayer in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we use to make our confession or profession of faith. There's plenty of people who are stunning Christians who have never said the sinner's prayer. So I'd be saying, do they want to follow Jesus? Have they accepted him as Lord and Savior? Have they been people who wanted to put God first in their life? And have they acknowledged that it's through faith that we are saved? So those are the questions I'd be asking.
They're good questions. And, I think the thing is that for some of us, and I will include myself in this, I had a very dramatic conversion. So I was an atheist and then I became a believer in Jesus. And so I can pinpoint the day I gave my life to Jesus on the 4th of December, 1977. That's the day I decided that I was going to be a Christian and follow Jesus Christ. But there's other people who can't pinpoint that,
That's right. That's
right. People like
and there's
Alice.
A continual following as well, isn't there?
Yes.
There's that thing of, even people who have made recommitments to Christ often. In fact, the research showed that people who made recommitments were more like, that was the time when they really took off in their faith. So, when somebody comes to me and says, I want to say the sinner's prayer, I go, okay, tell me what you know. Tell me what it is, because, it's not just words. It's about believing in our hearts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I was talking to Alice about this, Alice Widdowson. I don't know if Alice has joined us or not yet. She normally does on a Tuesday night, but Alice has said to me, she said, I just always have believed. Yeah. And I know there's other folk at Bayside that I've chatted with, and for them, salvation has been that process of they can't actually pinpoint a time. They just know that they've always believed in God, always loved Jesus, and have that amazing relationship. The New Testament talks about salvation as being past, present, and future. So, we were saved, we're being saved, and we will be saved at the second coming of Jesus. And so salvation is a process. The sinner's prayer is not in the Bible, but there are scriptures like in Romans 10, everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved.
Yeah. And again, the thing is, I often think about the mystery part of it, like when when we maybe go unconscious, the Spirit of God is still wrestling with people. And so we don't know what's happening. Even somebody who's a staunch, I will never do this. We don't know what happens with them. So we have to trust God and believe that he will do what is right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I mean, that's a verse from Genesis that you're using there, Genesis 18:25, where Abraham says, will not the judge of all the earth do right? And it's a rhetorical question, but if we were going to answer it, the answer would be an emphatic yes. God will do right. And so, I think the sinner's prayer is a wonderful start. I love leading people in a prayer of dedication and commitment to the Lord. And I mean, if you listen to me when I preach, you'll know that 9 times out of 10, I will include a prayer and encourage people to say that and, raise their hands, receive a Bible, all of those kind of things. But that in itself is not a be all and end all. If they just walk away from and never follow up on that, I wonder about the depth of that commitment. As Eugene Peterson, the author of the Message Bible, he says that it's a long obedience in the same direction. He actually wrote a book. You and I both read that book, Long Obedience in the Same Direction, the Christian Life. Matt has a question. G'day, Diane, Zizi, Katie. Matt says, what's coming up in this season at Bayside? What can we tell Matt?
Well, there's heaps of things happening.
Yeah.
We've got Father's Day next week. Is that what you mean? We've got we've done Steps to Church. We're doing Steps to Church.
We're doing Step to God again I think it's in September. So if you haven't done the first step to God, or if you know people who haven't done it yet and would like to, then they can register via the website. We've got another Step to Church coming up later in the year as well. So that's all part of our discipleship process here at Bayside to make sure that people they're well acquainted with the basics of the Christian faith, which is really, really important. So, and look, hey, I'm looking forward to the restrictions being eased a bit. I know that we're not going to go back to the way things were for probably several months. But the gatherings of up to 50 were being talked about before the second wave hit Victoria. So I'm trusting that we can get back to that at some point. I want to have some nights for the guys, especially through the warmer months, where we can gather in the car park at church, we fire up the barbecue,
be great.
Have a sausage sizzle, get some guys with guitars, have some praise and worship outside. And just connect together. So I think there's lots of things like that we can do. And I know that people like Steve and Tracy McPherson down in Langwarrin, they've got some acreage there and they want to open up their property, do a sheep on a spit and, get the church together in that way as well. So I'm really excited about some of the things that we've got coming up. G'day, Sam from Sydney. Nice chatting with you yesterday, mate. Paul says here, I always wonder if it was for me when my parents let me go to a Christian camp at the age of 12. I always remember clearly calling home and saying, I want to be a Christian, being brought up Jewish. I'm sure it wasn't what my parents wanted to hear. Maybe not, but I'm so glad they did, Paul. So glad they did. Alice is here, and apparently her picture froze, but now it's thawed out, which is wonderful. Hi to you, Alice. Good day to Rachel.
Katie Ahmed did both Steps to God, Step to Church. Says they're both worth doing. I'd agree. Really good work. Yeah,
fabulous. It's really good. Good day to Yuteng as well. The Morrises been praying for little Ava today. I had a text from Wayne Morris saying that Ava wasn't doing too well, so we're all lifting her up, Yuteng, and you and Wayne and the rest of the family as well. So be encouraged by that. I believe that the Lord's hand is upon your family. Okay. So Nola and Mike Ellis want to open up their property too. They've got a garage.
I think they meant acreage.
Acreage, yeah. We're happy to meet in a garage as well and open up your home for any event. That's just wonderful. Thanks so much, Nola. We're really looking forward to doing some stuff like that, and gathering the church together and having some great fellowship and growing. What have you seen?
No. And Nola corrected it and said not garage.
Not garage, okay. Yeah. Paris Buckingham, have you noticed that?
Hey, Paris.
Hello. She's upstairs almost, or she'd probably hear everything. Let me just get rid of Paris's message there so you know. Okay, so acreage. Good day to Graham and Kathy Thomas as well, enjoying listening regularly. Let people know about this on a Tuesday night. And of course, if they can't connect live, this is left up on Facebook and YouTube forever and ever until the second coming. And so they can engage with it anytime. So Shane Willard was last week, and we had a lot of people engage with Shane, and he's going to become a semi-regular guest on Tuesday nights. as well. And so if you missed last Tuesday, really encourage you to scroll back through the Facebook page or on YouTube, and you can catch up with what Shane and I discussed last week.
Good.
We got into a lot of really, really good stuff. Now, you have been doing a lot of baking, Mrs. B.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Eating it all, I've given some of it away. But well, do you want to tell them the background? Tell them about Russ. Russ, are you there at the moment?
Russ Porteous. Yeah. So Russ texted me and sent me a letter that had been dropped into their letterbox by the Jehovah's Witnesses. And it was just basically a very nice letter that was saying, if we can do anything for you during this time, let us know.
And I find this website very helpful, jw.org.
Yes, yeah. And then a person.
And then a person signed
it and so on. And he said, well, it'd be good to do something like that from Bayside. And so we decided that we would do something that we can do to touch base with our neighbours in our street, and also to reach out to some of the people at Bayside, and particularly some of the senior saints at Bayside Church. And so one of the things that Christy loves to do is to bake. She makes amazing cakes and biscuits. It's amazing that I am not the size of a house. Seriously.
Yes, I eat them and I'm getting there. Calories are not good calories.
No, that's all right. I do love that chai fruit cake. That is absolutely amazing. And so Christy's been baking, and I've got a deliverance ministry, so I've been taking them around to different places. So one thing I did discover, because I went next door on, I think it was Saturday night, and it was dark, and I had a mask on. It was before 8 o'clock, you'll be glad to know. And I had a mask on, but it's a bit unnerving for people when you turn up at their door and it's dark outside and there's a man there with a mask.
Well, the other neighbour, I actually called them and I couldn't reach over the fence. So I said, I'll sneak out the front gate. So I snuck out the front gate and hid underneath the bushes and handed over a cake and felt terribly naughty at 8:15.
Out of luck.
Yep, I did.
You've just publicised it as well.
I did. I literally opened my gate and stood under the bush right next to the gate, and they came out their gate and stood under the bush and took it from me.
Isn't that lovely?
Because I couldn't reach over the fence. Because would it have been a problem if I had reached over the fence?
I don't know.
Because seriously, that could be wrong as well.
Could be, as long as you don't take offence.
No. Anyway, we've had lovely little letters from people, and what I was planning to do was actually put a trestle table out the front and just tell people to bring their coffees along, and we'd have a trestle table which would give us some room, from a social distancing perspective, and have some goodies out there for them to have. I was thinking I could put muffins in a muffin tray, because then they're all individual serves, so they're all, separately wrapped and whatever. Thought that would be a good option, and we could catch up, because you can't have dips and nibblies and stuff because of the contamination, potential. So anyway, I'm just thinking about different ways that we can reach out to the neighbours, and they're loving it, absolutely loving it. Yeah. And Rob and Grandad are enjoying, going round with their little.
Yeah, it's great. I've been taking my father-in-law with me, and particularly to some of the people that he knows at Bayside Church. So we've been just turning up and walking to the front door, ringing the bell, handing a cake over, standing there and having a little chat for 10, 15 minutes, and then going on to the next people. So the reason we wanted to share this with you was just to kind of give you an idea of what we're doing, but as a kind of a seed thought, I guess, so that you can pray into that and say, okay, so what would you like me to do? Is there a way that you can reach out to people at this time? That's, of course, if you're not doing it already. Marky Mark says he's been praying for his colleagues in healthcare and in general, which is absolutely wonderful. And so just pray into that and say, okay, God, what would you have me do to connect with my neighbours? Are there some friends or people that you know that maybe are lonely, they're isolated, they're on their own, or they're doing it tough in some way?
Even people that wouldn't normally want you to pray for them or whatever. Or, I've reached out to people and say, I hope you don't mind me reaching out, but you've been on my mind for the last few days. Just want to let you know you're in my thoughts and prayers. And everyone has responded with they're so grateful and these are unusual times. And
and there might be people at Bayside that you know as well that you could reach out to. So just encourage you to do that. Over the next couple of weeks, we're still in stage 4, and then we'll probably be in stage 3 or maybe stage 2.5. We're not really sure at the moment, but it's going to be like this for weeks or months. And so ways that you can reach out to people and be the love of Jesus at this time. Russ is here. Russ Porteous.
I saw that.
G'day, Russ and I. Bless you guys.
Just even things like, writing little notes and dropping them off as you go out on your walk.
Yeah.
And obviously, use your own common sense. You don't have to go to, where you just stay within your radius, stay within what is comfortable for you to do, and go as the Lord leads. And he's amazingly creative. It's interesting because someone was saying in one of our meetings today that they knew of someone who'd had a bereavement, and they checked in with somebody else who was able to get flowers for them and drop them off. Now, you could say, is it essential? Is it not essential? Well, it's just lovely and it's compassionate. And they're not doing something that's not going to add to the care of that person and the help and the well-being of that person. And I think it's wonderful. And if you can do it and be creative about a way to encourage others, then do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how it breaks down barriers too, you know. So, I mean, one of our neighbours, a lovely, lovely lady, but she's when I see her, she waves, but very rarely smiles. It's more like, like that. And but the other day after you dropped the cake around, she was like, it was great, So it knocks down some barriers, which is great. Now, Nola wants to know how Bayside is going with supplies for the needy.
We can always use goods. I was in there today. It looks great the way they've done it. They've got it all together now. It's fantastic. We've had to make our building COVID safe, and Josh and Jimmy and Caitlin have done a fabulous job getting that all into position, and they've got everything all sorted out. Look, we always need things. Best to send a message to Amy Butler at baysidechurch.com.au.
Butler.
Things like I'm trying to think of some of the things that she'll be able to tell you the things that we're
there is actually, and there's a list on the website as well. I know that, but Amy's the great one to contact because she'll let you know how we're going, what we desperately need. I know our freezer is pretty well full. Veronica was saying that we've had an influx of frozen meals, which is fabulous. So, but of course they come in and they go out. So we are constantly giving out frozen meals to people. We're constantly giving out hampers. And so, the more the merrier would be absolutely fantastic. Jesse says that we're all putting on COVID weight. Good on you, mate. That's great.
Nola says, I'm a rebel. Yes, I am a little bit of a rebel.
She's very naughty.
With a cause. It's all good. It's all good.
She's not the Messiah. She's a very naughty girl.
It's like when you want to minimize your tax. There's a difference between tax evasion and tax minimization. Find all the loopholes you can. Find all the way, and that's not strictly true with COVID, but if there's a way that you can do something, like for example, if you're going to be buying a coffee in your area, go to the Brave Brew van at the church.
Yeah, it's open tomorrow morning.
It's open tomorrow. It's open on Wednesday, and that doubles. That not only gives you your coffee hit, but also connects you with Bayside and connects you with the community because the profits from that go back into the community again. So, I just think, think as wisely as you can.
Is the coffee van's open tomorrow? Brave Brew. What time? To and from, can you remember?
It's open from 7 o'clock in the morning till 12 noon.
Okay, cool. So if you're passing Bayside tomorrow morning, why don't you pop in? And Christy and I are going to be there at 10 in the car park.
You shouldn't have told them that because now if everybody comes at 10, which would be lovely for us, then we're going to get in trouble because somebody will think we've organised it.
Yeah,
but
we
have not organised this.
No, you're just popping in for a coffee.
I don't doubt the funeral people would job us in, but you never know.
You never know. I think it's all good. If you're there for a coffee, it's fine, and we
social distance.
We can have a wave as long as you got your mask on and everything. I want to get a mask and put a little hole in it so I can drink through a straw.
Well, the funniest thing was watching Grandad. He had a face shield on, and 3 times he put the scone, bang, bang, bang. Oh, tell these guys in case they haven't seen you on Facebook what happened with the self-raising flour.
Oh, it was so funny. This is on Sunday, right?
But I'm baking.
Christy's baking. We'll get to Russ's question.
Yes, Russ has got a good question, as usual.
So Christy was baking on Sunday afternoon, and we got, if you shop at Aldi at all, you would have seen fairly recently big sacks of plain flour and big sacks of self-raising flour. So I missed out on the plain flour, but I got the big sack of self-raising for Christy. So she said to me, can you go out to the garage and bring that in? So I brought it in, filled up a couple of containers. But as I was filling up the containers, I spilt some on the floor. Now, one of our dogs is a Groodle, and Murphy is her name. She's brown, so it's kind of Murphy Brown. That's where the name came from. And as she was licking up all the self-raising flour, I said to Christy, I said, I'm going to watch her to see if she takes off, because she'll be self-raising dog, which kind of reminds me here, Steve often just put it looks like COVID has made your jokes even better, Pastor Rob.
No, and there is nowhere to go to escape. I can't hide.
Lockdown.
So I was groaning at Rob's comment, but at the same time, I saw a great opportunity for a practical joke, which makes me laugh as long as nobody gets hurt.
Yeah. So you love practical jokes, don't you?
As long as nobody gets hurt.
So Christy said, let's go down to Nana and Grandad. So Christy's mum and dad have got a self-contained unit at the back of our home. We built this house together with them many, many years ago. So we went down to their place, both very, very serious. And Christy said, oh, Mum.
What do we do? I've never seen anything like this before. I have really never seen anything like this before. And they're going, what? And I said, well, Murphy's eating flour and now she's floating. Self-raising flour and now she's floating. And she's like levitating. Yeah. Well, Grandad looked and he was all shocked. And Mum started to get out of bed. She was lying down resting. And Dad said, have you thought about calling the vet or something? And
at which point I completely lost it because he was so serious.
Mum was still getting out of bed. She came up the front. She still didn't know what had happened. Yeah. And Trinity came downstairs. And I said, oh, Trinity. I said, Murphy had just eaten self-raising flour and she's rising. And Grandad's suggesting that we phone the vet, to which she responded, legit? She's really floating? Oh. We thought this is definitely a generational problem.
It was fun. It was really fun.
Funny. So back to
Russ's question. How does this make you feel? And how can we, the church, follow your lead?
Well, it's interesting you say that, Russ, because it was funny because I don't tend to do things so that I feel a certain way. And interestingly, Gigi said to me, why aren't you going out to deliver them? Because then you'll get all the accolades for doing it. And I said, no, I really want Rob and Dad to have the joy of, seeing people's faces and whatever. I did it because, and I do it because I believe that it is something that God has asked me to do at that time. And I will, as I do it, I know the difference between baking because I have to and baking because I love to. And so I didn't feel anything. I just did because I knew it was what I could do. It was very practical.
Well, I can answer that by very simply, the scripture that pops into my head is Jesus in Acts. It is more blessed to give than to receive. And so, when I went out on Sunday afternoon, quite honestly, I was feeling a little weary. But by the time I got back, I was incredibly refreshed. Yeah. And so just seeing the joy on people's faces. And so they were blessed by receiving, but I feel like Grandad and I were multiply blessed. And the same happened the first time.
Tangible. I think that often, it amazes me when we say, we pray for people but people still, like, thinking about our frontline workers, for example, they still got to go get their shopping.
Yeah.
They've still got to homeschool their kids. Well, some of them do. And they've still got to, you know, it's really, it's like, just do something to actually lighten the load, you know. And
it's like what God said to Moses, what's in your hand?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so
yeah.
ask yourself that question, what have I got in my hand? So for Christy, it's baking, you know, I mean, it's just such a wonderful.
I asked myself, that's the thing. What can I do without leaving the house today that will bring some blessing to some other people, and is easy for me to do, is a joy for me to do, you know. And I also think that, like, if you really think about it, you know, like, I think about when I was, when I had my kids, you know, here I am, I have my kids, I'm in a country with no family. And I went for 6 weeks without not one person came to visit, not one person brought a meal. And then Margie, Rose, and Kay Kinross came, and Kay brought me a beautiful meal. And I think everybody just thought I was, you know, managing, but I wasn't. And Margie will never forget the amount of ironing that had to be done. And I think the fact is, it's logical. If you have a child, it is going to require a lot of effort. And we had that and a church to take care of. And Rob was working 2 jobs.
On the radio,
So it's common sense, I think, a lot of the time, on how we can help people, or even just offer to help. Like, if you go into the grocery store, you know, offer to get something for somebody else if you can. And
think about what you might be able to do. You know, it's like, okay, if someone's just had a baby, like you said, the ironing. Rather than say, let me know if there's something I can do, say, well, why don't I pop around and pick up your ironing basket and do it for you?
Well, yes, although somebody might be very private and they may say that's not the thing for them. But you could say, look, I have an hour. What would be the best use of, what would you like me to do?
Yeah.
Would you like me to go fetch something and something? Because I think often people don't even know how to ask for help because we've become not neighbourly.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about just, you know, our neighbours in Ireland. We just throw our leg over the fence and go and, you know, pop in the back door.
The fence is really short there.
Yes, dear, they were. And in a certain place, it was even lower, so I could get over it. But that's what you do. You just throw your leg over the fence. Now, we're so into boundaries and so into, you know, isolation and nuclear families that we don't have the benefit of that. And also the Bible says, don't make a nuisance of yourself. So there's a balance to that too. But, you know, one of the things I find the hardest thing to get used to here was the fact that you have to make an arrangement to call in with somebody spontaneously. So even, like, you just don't turn up at the door generally. And that, I think that robs, like, I know, you know, even when I'm back home in Ireland, I might have an agenda of certain things I want to do. And then somebody comes at the door and it takes you in a completely different direction, but it also lifts your day, lifts their day. And
it's good.
It's just a different way of living.
So take that on board, and then maybe over the next, you know, few Tuesday nights, let us know some of the things that you're doing. So Hamish says, set up a messenger group with your neighbours. Ours is going great and very supportive.
Did you initiate that, Hamish, or did you feel comfortable initiating that? That's a great idea. I know some people have done WhatsApp groups. That's another option.
By the way, I just want to say g'day to Alan Gouldson. He's listening tonight, which is so good. G'day, mate. We're honouring Alan and the family this weekend.
It's so good listening to his story.
Bayside Church online, Saturday night and Sunday morning. So 4 generations of one family. Chris says, I cooked a cake for our neighbours, a group of young people who are house sharing, and got a bottle of wine and a lovely note back.
How stunning. And I bet you they said they just felt so blessed to have a home cooked something or other. Russ, what does Russ say? We're inviting our neighbours to a street Zoom gathering. Cool.
That's a really good idea.
Good. Very good.
And Alice says, I loved your cake, Christy. Yum, yum.
Oh, bless.
Alice was so sweet. I shouldn't tell everyone, but I'm going to.
No, don't. Don't. No, don't.
Okay, I'm being told off here.
Yes.
Hamish says, we have Zoom dinners too. Katie says people are very open to prayer at present. Yes, they are. In fact, you know, I think most people, I I think people are open to prayer a lot of the time. I really, really do.
Yeah. Do you know, Russ, what you could do with your people who are doing the Zoom meeting? What we're going to do with our team, we've got little gifts for them all, and we've put in a little funny thing, like, you know, we went to like a $2 shop and bought like these really groovy glasses, or, you know, little pipes or bubble blowing or whatever. And so we're going to ask all of them the next time they come on the Zoom, they've got to do something with this item that they've been given, just like as a bit of fun.
That's great.
As a bit of a.
So what sort of items would you give?
Well, we got, you know, we went to the $2 shop, which also sells food. That's why it's still open. So we got like a crown. We got a patch, you know, like a pirate. We got, some of them don't know that they're getting this, but if they're listening, they will. We got like a fairy wand, you know, all sorts of stuff. And the idea is that they're going to have to weave that into chatting when they're on Zoom. So it was just a fun thing to do. And, you know, because also often we have problems when people want to speak. So, you know, put on these, you know, really bizarre glasses, and now we know you want to speak.
You want to say something on Zoom.
Seriously. Yeah. So just that was one of the things that we did, because I think connection, finding a way to get a physical thing into people's home, to courier in some love somewhere or another, is just powerful.
It's really
just a powerful thing.
It's really cool. Good day to Nerida. Lovely to have you connect.
Oh, one thing I heard.
Cakes are nice looking.
One of my lecturers, actually, he is, among other things, he's a poet, and he's doing a little poem of the week and dropping it in with his neighbors, something that is, you know, thoughtful.
That's cool. So someone, if they're creative in writing, yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great idea, Russ. I think it's really, listening to somebody the other day and didn't get a chance to finish the whole podcast, but this is, if somebody was to tell me what I am concerned about in lockdown, one of the things that I am concerned about is that we don't fully get what this moment holds. This is a very sacred moment as well as a difficult one. And, you know, this guy was talking about how in some ways we have lost our opportunity to do a proper job in speaking out about racism, and also getting back to normal for the sake of it, without interrogating everything that we're doing. And we are, because even coming up to Christmas lunch, we're looking at how do we do that this year? How do we do it if we have to pivot quickly? We're thinking about, at the moment, we're trying to source a, what do you call the thing? Vacuum packer, a commercial vacuum packer, so that if we had to, we could vacuum pack meals, because for people in cars, it's a lot better than, you know, things that are going to spill, but also,
in the hot weather too,
it keeps longer, all that sort of stuff. So we're trying to think really outside of the box and not, you know, if ever there was a time to change the way that we do things, this is an amazing time. And also to really, really focus on what are some of the things that we're going to take things back when COVID lifts, when the restrictions lift, but what are we going to hold fast to? What are one or two of the things that we go, no, I've reclaimed this and I'm not going to let go of this.
Absolutely. There's real wisdom in that, isn't there? Because the worst thing that we could do is just to go right back to everything we did before, just for the sake of doing it again. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So Heather, sorry, hang on.
Kathy Thomas, you talking about the one?
Kathy Thomas, our area, Selby, has a residents Facebook group, and many in there offer help to others, excess produce, eggs, or offer to charge up phones, boil water, etc. if they're without power, as some have been. Lending generators, wonderful.
Isn't that great?
Just amazing.
I love that. There's another one here from Chris. So Tom washed his old Mustang and Holden Ute on the front lawn. A lot of people stopped to chat and made some new friends.
That is fantastic.
Isn't that great?
Really, really good.
Love
Beautiful. Bring some joy in the midst of it all. How do we get them to you if we're out of the zone? What are we talking about now? Because if it's something you can post, you post. Or
I think it's, so Nola's question was about the items for Bayside Community Care for the pantry.
Oh, okay. So we can get them to Jimmy, or Jimmy can pick them up.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not a problem because he's got a permit. But also, sorry, I thought you were talking about other things that you could, if you wanted to get something. We've got a little system set up where, if I want something heading down to Frankston, I'll call somebody that's sort of midway and I'll say, when are you coming up this way? I've got something for you. Can you take it down there? So there are ways to do things that are within the law and not trying to cheapen or lessen the restrictions that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's ways around it. So, I mean, as pastors, for example,
it's not even around it. I think around it sounds like as if we're trying to. It's those ways to do it creatively and stay well within the spirit of the law.
Sure, I wasn't trying to.
I know, but there'll be somebody who will pick that up.
Rules.
And yes, so we better be careful.
I'd never do that because I am a Christian.
Christians. Yes. Let me explain that one to you.
Oh no, please don't.
Can't I?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, moving right along. Carrie says, and this is a good point, when buying stuff, just keep in mind people with food issues. So, certainly gluten-free, all of that kind of stuff would be good. I like your faith. Matt Murphy reckons we should have 500 people in the car park.
Yeah,
Amen.
and get arrested at the same time.
And social distance. We need a bigger car park. We do anyway. I want to say hello to Stella because Stella is an absolute legend. Stella Offen, God bless you. I'm so glad that you are connecting with us tonight, sweetheart. You're wonderful. Okay, so Vito says hi from the Urato family.
Oh, there's Kate. Hi, Kate.
Kate Cruikshank is with us. I miss you most. Isn't that lovely?
Hang on, that's important. Lots of.
Do you want me to pop that up?
Yeah, that's important.
From Jesse?
Lots of businesses have already cancelled Christmas parties in the city. I'm currently looking into how we do Christmas for our people. Maybe we send out meals or hampers and then have a kind of unveiling on Zoom so we can have the dinner meal or presents virtually. Yeah, that's a great idea. I think you need to be thinking ahead so that you don't get to the last minute. And also, people will charge through the roof. Yeah.
So, I mean, I know we'll do something. I mean, Matt's place, Chelsea, is still operating, and the team get together every week and they're cooking hot meals and handing them out to people. And I think they're delivering to some people as well. So, that's going on through this time as well. And then Amanda is just reminding us here on Facebook, the Kindness Pandemic group is fabulous. And Elisa's come up with a name, the COVID Couriers.
Yeah, no, Elisa is a COVID courier. She hasn't come up with the name. She is one of the couriers.
I love that. Good on you. You're
trafficking goods.
Okay, a question here. What if I never had a dream of what I would be or would do? What is my purpose? I was about to ask you, and you've gone up and walked away from me.
I have a dream.
She has a dream.
I have a dream.
You are too funny. Come back, Christy. Come back.
What's that again?
What's it again? All right, let me read it to you again. She's funny,
I know what it is.
Okay, so what if I never had a dream of what I would be or do? What is my purpose?
Well, your purpose is not what you be or do. It's who you are. So you're a person, a creature created to love your creator. So your work on earth is to find ways to connect with your creator and to introduce other people to him, whether that be in word or in deed or just by being. And there are so many ways that we can do it. I mean, look at this little created being. Isn't that enough to make anyone say there is a God in heaven?
Yeah.
This one.
No, we're talking about the dog, not you.
Yeah, I know. Does that answer that question, Rob?
I think so. Are you off to bed?
Yeah.
All right. Night. Love you. Sleep well. See you in the morning. Hugs.
Night.
Mwah.
Good night, everybody.
You're adorable. I think it's a really good question, and I mean, for people, there's people who know what they want to do. So from the age of 13, I wanted to be a radio announcer. That's all I ever wanted to do. So I guess I'm lucky in that regard. And then when I came to faith in Jesus, shortly thereafter, I sensed a deep call to pastoral ministry.
You're also a completely different generation. A lot of generations now don't expect to start a job and stay in it.
No, sure.
Whereas years ago, you got a job and that was it. You did not move out of that job. So therefore you wouldn't move out of that.
So that wasn't
profession.
me. I'm not that old, but that was certainly my dad's generation.
No, there's plenty of people in your age bracket
who would be in one job for life.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you've been in more or less than one for life.
Well, for 28 years at Bayside.
Exactly.
And
it's pretty good life.
3MP.
It's a life sentence.
And 3MP and Light FM.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Lots of jobs over the years.
But it's two things: radio and
pastoring has been the main things. Yeah, for sure. So if I haven't had a dream, what would I do? The way I look at it is your passion is your purpose. So what do you absolutely love doing? What are you good at? And normally the answer to those two questions are the same, because the things you love doing are the things you're good at. And then find a way that you can express what you love doing and what you're good at doing as your purpose, because it's your passion. And that's also God's will, because that's the way he made you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of mystery around the will of God. You know, incidentally, that's the number one most often asked question by Christians of their faith. So for non-Christians, it's if there's a loving God, why is there so much suffering in the world? But for Christians, it's how can I know the will of God for my life? And I think the problem is that invariably Christian people think of the will of God as being a dot. So this is the will of God, and now I'm out of the will of God. But the will of God is not that narrow. I think you should see the will of God more like, you know, a large screen, as it were. You might want to say, okay, the screen here on the computer, and anything that you do within these lines is fine with God. If you go outside the line, then you're outside the will of God. So the Bible gives boundaries to our life. And so you stay within the will of God in that way. I think most people zigzag down the will of God anyway. But don't be worried about leaving God's will. It's very hard to do, and you know it when you've done it.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to that?
I think that we get very caught up in the directional will of God and not the attitudinal will of God. And so what is God's desire for us is to, you know, to pray to pray without ceasing, you know,
rejoice in the Lord always.
Rejoice in the Lord, you know, and to, you know, to care for one another, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you, you know. And I think that we think about what it is that we're going to do. And I think if we get our attitude right and we question ourselves and we become more aware of ourselves in the light of his glory instead of, you know, our glory and then tag God on at the other side, I think that's where things go terribly wrong.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So many people decide what they're going to do and then sort of ask God's blessing on it at the end, you know?
Yeah, instead of the other way around. Alan says, thank you so much for honouring our family on the weekends. We're looking forward to it, Alan. Very, very precious family. Deli says, are you still at Light FM? No, I'm not working on Light FM now, but they do call on me on a semi-regular basis. So I do interviews on topical issues. When there's something happening in the news that's topical, I will often get a call. Can you talk into this? And also, you know, preach occasionally on Sunday mornings and so on and so forth. So definitely got a really good heart connection with that ministry. I was on the board of what was 777 Communications, which started Light FM in the late 80s, pretty well as soon as I moved to Melbourne in 88. I had a phone call from someone who wanted to put a group together to go for a license for a Christian radio station. So I was on the initial board through the 90s, and then started working on air, and then as the music director at Light FM around 2001, 2002, I think it was, when I finished at 3MP. So about 2002. It's cool. Have you
pursue a job that you like with a servant heart? Who's that's
Hamish.
About purpose? Yeah. So good.
Yeah. Carrie says, I remember when you talked about meandering with purpose. Yeah, it's good, Carrie. I think, that's one of the messages that I've preached over the years that people still refer to on a regular basis. So that meandering with purpose is so very important in life. And James says, thank you so much for wisdom tonight. ×2. That'll be you and me. Very cool. And we got time for maybe one or two more questions. Carla asked me a question today, but Carla, I'd like a bit more time to dig into that in scripture. I only got about halfway through that, so I'll touch on that next week. Here's a really good one. We might finish up with this, but I want your take on this. After reflecting on the 7 letters written to the 7 churches in the book of Revelation, if Jesus was to look at our church today, what do you think he would see as our main barriers to us becoming more like Christ and serving in his kingdom? What are we doing? What can we do as a church family to address some of these issues? It's an interesting one. So there's 7 letters. To 5 of them, Jesus says something good and something bad. To one of them, he says only something bad. And to one of them, he says only something good. So that's the question. What do you think Jesus would say to us at Bayside collectively? Something that springs to mind that while Christy's just giving this some thought, because the advantage is I've read all the questions and I've actually had time to think about this, but I spring them on Christy because she's so good at answering spontaneously.
I think I sometimes worry about this because of the context of the book of Revelation and the way then people can try and go, well, you're this and you're this and you're that and you're the other church and whatever. And I think, seeing Bayside as God sees it. I mean, there are days where I think we have a lot to do and a long way to go. And then there's other days where I go, it's so wonderful to hear, what everybody is doing and how they're trying to, reach out to others and reach out to the poor and to, stay hot for Christ and all those sort of things. So, to actually label us as one of the churches, I would find
No, they're not asking to label us as one of the churches. They would want to know as Jesus wrote to those churches, what would he say to Bayside? Like, are there areas?
I think the first thing he'd say is, thank God you made it. Thank God you're here. I think he would say,
like the TV show.
Yeah, I think I feel definitely that God would be happy that there are some areas that we have spoken out for, and even in our Pentecostal tradition, which is very much, doesn't really understand a theology of lament, a theology of suffering, a theology of justice. It's something that's become quite trendy. I remember 12 years ago being in a meeting with a group of like-minded pastors with churches around our size, and we were told, well, give the justice stuff to Rob and Christy. They're the sort of they're the
justice hippies.
They're the justice hippies. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is crazy, because the church started with doing the Christmas lunch and stuff like that. So I would definitely say, because it's been with great hardship that we've done some of these things. And I would also say that God would, I think he would acknowledge the fact that, when Rob started Bayside, there was no other church similar to it in the area.
That's right.
And Rob didn't come because, this is a nice area. There's other churches nearby. They've done the hard plowing work. We'll just, make the most of it. I think, Rob came here because God told him to come to this area, to the Cheltenham area.
I had people try and discourage me, actually. I had people come and say, the Bayside area is full of wealthy people who aren't interested in God. don't go there. And I said, well, I have to go in obedience to what the Lord has said. He said to me very, very clearly, pioneer a church in Cheltenham.
And you did.
And he told me what to call it. So, you know.
And you did. You did what you were told to do. So I think that there would be, I think we probably could have, if we had known more about it at the time, we probably could have started Bayside Community Care earlier.
But we did the Christmas lunch in our first year, you know. So this year, whatever it looks like, will be the 28th year that we've fed people on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, helping people. So the only thing that really sprung to mind for me was discernment, you know, and I think this is not just something for Bayside, but for something for the Christian church in every generation, but even more so today because of the blessing of social media and the internet and all that goes with it, which is wonderful. But every blessing has a dark side to it if you're not careful. And one of the things that I am challenged by as a pastor in this day and age is the number of people who go off track because they get their theology from a YouTube clip.
Yeah.
Or an article.
But I mean, doctors are in exactly the same position.
I know.
You know, and it's but I think more so with
well, I know I chatted with my local GP about this, and he says, the number of people that turn up, and he said they've already Googled their symptoms and they want to tell him what they've got and the best treatment for it. You know, it's like, no, he's the guy with the degrees, right? And the same when it comes to theology and ministry. You need, you know, we've studied for this, and we've got many decades of experience
and lots to learn. But at least we do have some idea of where to go to get the help to concretize things.
So by all means, I mean, listen to podcasts and all of that kind of stuff, but be discerning. You know, I love the story in Acts chapter 17. So Paul and Silas fled to a place called Berea, which was a little town off the main road. It was off the track, and they were getting away from Thessalonica, where they'd been severely persecuted. So they got away from Thessalonica, they got to Berea, and they preached the gospel in the synagogue and to the Jewish people. And Luke in the book of Acts says the people of Berea were more fair-minded than the people of Thessalonica. He said they searched the scriptures to find out whether what Paul was saying was right or not. And on the basis of them doing that, they found out that Paul was right, and then embraced Paul's teaching. But they weren't gullible, you know, but they were teachable. And I think it's important. So check out everything you hear. You know, when I preach, when Christy preaches, check us out. Go back to the word.
But I think it's checking it out, though, with a Berean spirit.
Yes.
So not with we better keep an eye on them.
Not cynical.
You know, it's not a cynical. That's a horrible, place to be. But
it is.
And I think, you know, we're called to, right now, I would say, if Jesus wrote us a letter right this minute, he'd be saying, I'm in the middle of this. I love you completely. I knew that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And the things that I've put in your heart and will continue to put in your heart will guide you through this. You've been through other things. And this is just another thing to get through. And
Absolutely.
We'll get through it. So endure. Be steadfast, unmovable.
Yeah. And be teachable, not gullible. Thanks, Kate. Absolutely. Just finish on this one. People have so much extra time on their hands to fall down the internet rabbit hole. Beautifully put, Jesse. So much false information that people blindly share. Research, and make sure what you are putting up is helping, not hindering others. That's very wise advice. I appreciate you sharing that, Jesse.
And also, I think, look, at the moment, there seems to be two types of people: the people that are flat chat, and we come into that category, and then the people who have far too much time on their hands. And I think they need to be looking at how they can actually use that time wisely, because it is a gift. Yeah, it really is a gift.
Yeah,
and
don't go down the internet rabbit hole and the conspiracies that are floating around at the moment. Resist every one of them.
Yeah.
I haven't read one that's accurate yet. They're all diversions that will get you off the track. And don't forget, as a follower of Jesus, our number one message is the good news, not bad news.
Absolutely.
We will finish there, Mrs. B.
Amen.
Lovely hanging out with you guys. And I will see you next Tuesday night between 8 and 9. If you've got any questions you'd like me to, or topics you'd like me to touch on, feel free to flick me a message during the week. All right. And I'll research that and get to you next Tuesday at 8. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
We will indeed. Take
okay.
care.
Love you
Bye.
all. Night, night.